Hello everybody, my name is Firo, and today I am going to talk about some of my New Year's resolutions for art and life. In this video, I am drawing Witch Hazel, an OC I draw annually around the new year to see how my art has progressed through this character. Usually this is one of my worst pieces of the year because I try to push the limits and do something completely new, and this year is no exception. She looks completely different from her original design, which I drew almost 9 years ago. Next year is going to be a decade of doing this challenge, so I guess I better do something a little more special for that. Anyways, because she's had so many design changes, I thought I would try to make a little character sheet to simplify all the random traits I've given her over the years. Some of her defining features are her pink and purple color palette, her witch hat, her staff, and her spirit companion. She is always depicted at night, and somewhere along the way I decided that she lived in a bog. Now with that, I wanted to unify these details to fit her design more closely and really tell the story of her character. Last year was my first attempt at doing this, but I never posted it because that's the year I stopped posting on Instagram, and I was also not super proud of the outcome. I think the reason was because a lot of the choices I made were added for the sake of change and not because they made sense with her character or story. This year, I decided to use 3 natural elements to focus her design around: the Venus flytrap and purple swan hen because of the link to the wetlands, and the witch hazel plant, which I've never thought to add for who knows what reason. The witch hazel tree doesn't actually grow near wetlands at all, so that's unfortunate, but it doesn't matter so much because it's still connected to her name. The other 2, however, are key elements that I hope will connect her identity to the swamp. I mentioned in my last video that I wanted to do more horror-esque monster designs, so what a better place to start than with this character. Rather than just including some elements of the swamp hen and flytrap into her design, I decided it would be way more interesting if she was some sort of monster that mimicked these plants and animals. So in the final design, she's hunched over just like the hen and has feet very similar to that of a bird's, and her mouth is shaped like a Venus flytrap. I had the idea that her entire body would open up to catch her prey, but I didn't like how it distracted from her confident smile, which is a big part of her personality. The little spirit that accompanies her is a will-o-wisp that lures people into the bog and also guides spirits to Hazel. In the final illustration, I only show her monster form, but my story for her is that the bog she lives in is a form of purgatory, and she helps things who die in the bog, people, animals, insects, etc., move on to the afterlife, but only if they're worthy to do so. Because the bog she lives in has some sort of magical properties, people try to steal the water or the plants, and she turns into this big monster to either scare them away or lures them into the bog, drowns them, and eats them. So that said, she has multiple forms and transitions between her human and monster form, which makes me want to do an animation of her transforming from one to another, maybe next year. Besides the fact that she is way more monster-like, I replaced her hat for a pointy one and changed up her staff to look like the beak of a swamp hen, assuming she would use this to potentially trick people into thinking she's just a bird. I wish I could have thought a little bit more about her design before filming this video because I am really struggling with her outfit. I feel like as my style gets more realistic and detailed, her original outfit becomes way too cartoony and looks a little bit strange on her. But I honestly don't know what to do about it anymore. That's just a problem for next year. I also decided to do the sketch on Procreate, but the final illustration is on paper using colored pencils to sketch and then alcohol markers for coloring, and then moving on to colored ink, which I don't typically use for the inking part. To ink this, I'm using a glass pen, which I don't typically recommend. I'm still really just figuring it out, but they used to be really popular, I think back in 2016, and I've always wanted one, so I got one this year to help me with my line art for MISCHIEF, but I honestly don't think they're super worth it. They're really fickle and difficult to control, but I think they're a little bit more useful for sketching and writing because you don't have to dip in the ink so much, so I'll be using it a lot throughout the year, so I guess maybe I'll have a different opinion when I'm a little more advanced on the tool. Now, on to my resolutions for this year. First, I'll talk about my art goals, and then I'll move to some general life goals. My first and most important goal for the year is to complete my comic, MISCHIEF. This comic has been in the works for over 5 years now, and the reason why it's taking so long is not only because I've been changing the story and the medium a whole bunch, but I'm also getting my degree or working pretty much the entire time that I have been doing this comic. I'm hoping to work less this summer so I can work more on my comics, because making comics and storytelling is what I want to do with my life, and if I don't get it done before I graduate, I don't know if I'll ever find not just the physical but the mental time to come back to it. I have a lot more ideas I want to make a reality, but MISCHIEF has been a huge undertaking, and I'm trying to get all I can out of university and job experience before I don't have all these resources around me. But I would also like to graduate with a completed and recent graphic novel that I can show off to future employers, so yeah, this is my number one priority. Secondly, I'd like to explore my style through art challenges. I spoke a lot about what I want in a style in my last video, but even if I know what I want, I've always had trouble improving, so I thought art challenges might be a great way to keep working on something consistently. I haven't decided exactly what challenges I want to do, but something along the lines of drawing 100 different hands or fill up a sketchbook in a month challenge. Something that will motivate me to practice, but also be specific and have structure so I can practice with purpose. My last art goals of the year are all video related. Now, it is my biggest pet peeve when YouTubers will bring up something they don't like about their videos and say something along the lines of, "I'm sorry for the lighting in this video, I can't find the right bulb, my voice sounds weird today," etc. I'm always thinking to myself, just get on with the video, we don't care about these things. But because a lot of my art goals are projects I want to do, especially on YouTube, you're just gonna have to bear with me. My biggest goal with YouTube for the year is to find a formula that works for me. When I started last year, I used my phone to video, but then the videos started getting too big and wouldn't transfer to my Windows computer, so now I'm testing out 2 different DSLR cameras to film, but they're both for photography, so they can only film for 10 and 30 minutes, which isn't long enough for me. Not to mention the file sizes on these cameras is ginormous compared to the iPhone, and there's no time-lapse option. This video I'm trying to cut together live footage, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I just have to do more editing, and editing takes time, which I'd rather be spending on the art. So I'm having this issue of how do I enjoy the drawing and filming experience in a way that is simple, and then edit it in a way that doesn't take up too much time so I'm not too tired for the next video, especially when it comes to filming my comic MISCHIEF, which is already such a difficult thing to set up for working even when I'm not filming. It's a huge hassle to film, but I know it doesn't have to be. I just haven't found the best way to do it yet, and so that's my goal for this year. A side note for YouTube is that I want to release 1 art challenge video and maybe 1 animated story time. If I can do the animated one, that would be great, but they all take a really long time, so I'm not setting it as a priority, especially not until MISCHIEF is done. But the art challenge one is one I'm really excited for. I feel like I don't see art challenges all that often anymore on YouTube. Maybe it's just my feed, but I am almost always bombarded with social commentary, and it is just exhausting. When I was younger, watching Mark Crilly, Jazza, and Drawing with Waffles, I had such a blast watching their drawing challenge videos, and I've always wanted to do them myself, but I didn't have a channel yet, and now I do. So a challenge video is definitely happening in the future. One other side note, art resolution, is to have some more time for knitting. I've kind of already achieved this one because I did knit a pair of socks over the holidays, and that was really fun. So I want to do a little bit more of that, especially because I love socks and I'm always running out of them. 2 non-visual arts related ones for music is I just 1, want to write a song, and 2, do a cover with my accordion on my other channel called Firo.Comix. I made that channel thinking I was going to be uploading music just as much as I upload visual arts, but it takes so much more time to do that than to draw a little bit, so I don't have a ton of content up there right now, but I do want to release at least 1 song and do 1 cover. Okay, that's enough about art. On to my life goals. I always find it interesting to hear what other artists' life goals are because we all have such different ways of living. Some people are super athletes on the side of art, and other people have academic careers to become doctors or teachers. So I thought that I would share some of my personal goals for the coming year. The first 2 are pretty typical: wake up early and exercise. I have had these goals in the past, but this is the first year I have begun to understand myself enough to actually achieve these goals. The wake up early one is the easiest by far. All I need to do is hype myself up to watch a movie in the wee hours of the morning. I think I've mentioned this in a past video, but I like to wake up around 6 a.m. and start a movie before I have to leave for school at 8 a.m. It is one of my favorite times of day, being half awake with a cup of coffee and cereal, watching literally anything I feel like. I am usually never able to watch movies in the evening because I like to work until I go to bed, so mornings are when I do whatever I feel like. For example, this morning I woke up at 5 a.m. to watch DDLJ and then proceeded to finish this video instead of going to school, which leads to the biggest problem with this method. If the movie ends after 7:45 a.m., I will be late for school. I will also be late to school if I watch a TV show or series of YouTube videos, so those options are out. I haven't tried playing a video game in the morning, but I fear the same thing will happen where I'll just get way too into it and then not be able to stop in time. And it doesn't help that the commute I have in the morning is so freaking uncomfortable that if I know I'm going to be late, even by 5 minutes, I usually end up skipping a class or two because rushing through horrible commute only to walk into a class late is so much worse to me than not showing up at all. That's kind of where the understanding myself part helps. I mean, I think medication also helps a lot, but I've learned that when I'm this busy, it's okay not to stress about every little thing, about being late, about missing a class or two, and really try to finish the projects that I'm doing when I'm motivated to do them and not waiting any later. For example, I've been working on this video for a week and a half, and it's been kind of just on my mind the entire time, making it hard for me to do other homework things. So this morning, I felt like doing it, so I just, finished it rather than leaving it for something else that I probably should be doing instead. Learning how to say no and understanding how much you can actually handle is also really good and something I'm just kind of learning about. For the past couple of years, I've had an average of 20 hours per week of classes, and that is a ton, but I've done it before, so this term I decided I would take on 22 hours of classes a week, which then led me to be late for all of my morning classes. So at the advice of one of my professors, I dropped 2 of my morning classes, and I felt really bad about it at first because I now have withdrawals on my transcript, but I feel so much better. So I'm glad I listened to my professor because I'm no longer late for classes if I watch a movie in the morning. I still get up at 6 a.m., but now I can actually enjoy those early hours in the morning. The being active part is the hardest. I used to be a really athletic kid, not by choice, but I was put in figure skating, gymnastics, swimming, soccer, baseball, literally every sport under the sun. And when I hit puberty, all these sports became incredibly uncomfortable. And I haven't done anything like that since. That was all a while ago, but I've still had this image about myself that I am still as athletic as I was when I was a kid, until I passed out at a lifeguarding interview after swimming a 25-meter length of the pool. So I am not healthy and haven't been for a while, but I found a way to be a little bit more active without doing something as uncomfortable as exercise. Basically, I threw the exercise everyday thing out the window because that is impossible. Then I looked for a competitive sport that I would like to do. Muay Thai or kickboxing became that sport. I don't go super often, but I always wanted to do martial arts as a kid, and I found a place that I really like to train. It's a bit far from my house, so when I'm not doing that, I might run around the block or even do something on the Wii Fit. Yes, you heard that right. The freaking Wii Fit. It is so fun, guys. I miss it, and I want Nintendo to bring back the Wii and a more expanded version of the Wii Fit because this game is one of the only things that motivates me to move some days. Mind you, I might do the Wii Fit once a week, go to the gym once a month, and run around the block every couple weeks. I'm not consistent, but it is something, and I find that I definitely feel a little bit better than I did when I was doing nothing at all. So that's a win for me. 2 more quick ones. The first being no more Amazon. I had a bit of a spending problem last year, and I think that 90% of all of those packages came from Amazon. Environmental motives aside, I haven't bought anything from Amazon in 19 days, and that is insane compared to the nearly daily orders I was making last year. I am honestly so ashamed of my spending habits throughout the years, and now that I am coming closer to total independence, it is the thing that freaks me out the most. Amazon is just a terrible company in general, and almost everything I buy there is garbage and breaks within a year. Especially when finding art supplies, it is way more fun to go to a store in person and then just browse for like an hour only to find like a simple eraser that you needed. The last thing is to get one gig in the film industry. I have been saying in and out of this channel that I have been on film sets and done film scores, etc., but it has been over 2 years since I have gotten a good paid job. And now that I'm nearing the end of my education, I am looking very hard for something to do. When I was a kid, I always wanted to be a film director. For live action or animation, didn't matter, but in recent years, I've noticed myself starting to lose that dream. To be honest, I have to thank Hudson Williams from Heated Rivalry for relighting that little spark within me. I like the show, but what really blew my mind is the fact that he grew up in a small town near where I did and went to film school in the same city I did and was able to be a part of something so monumental that started in my own country, Canada. It's so disheartening to see Canadian filmmakers become famous, but only because they have dual citizenship and moved to the States. Despite the fact that Canada has amazing funds for films, rarely does a film ever make a mark in Canada. Most Canadian films are not even seen by Canadians. So as someone who would have a very difficult time moving and living in the States, I had kind of given up on my dream. But seeing a show like this become as popular as it is, with Canadian actors, directors, and premiering on a Canadian-only streaming service, that's insane. That doesn't happen, and that's why everyone in Canada is freaking out about this show. I mean, everyone in the world, to be honest. So I am going to try again. And I'm freaking out because I don't want to fail again, but I'm still going to try anyways. Anywho, that's all I've got for y'all today. Thank you so much for making it this far, and I hope you were able to take something away from this video. I, for one, had a really fun time working with Witch Hazel and figuring out a character design that is so completely different from what I've been doing before. I'm really starting to feel a shift in the right direction for me when it comes to art, and I hope you're able to join this artistic adventure with me. If you have any art resolutions of your own, feel free to share them with me. I love reading those kinds of things. And I hope you will join me in the next video. Adios!